Now, burnout is definitely real. As you said, we've seen a lot of people on social media that have a platform talk about this. But I think it's for not just the people that kind of do activism on a more full-time level, but everyday people, everyday activists that also have other regular jobs also do find that they can feel overwhelmed and burn out at times and take a little break or, so it's not just those that have a profile is what I'm saying.
No, exactly. And it can be just as challenging for someone who has a regular day job and is doing activism outside of those day job hours, because there are so many activist events to get involved in that it can take up all of one's free time and then some.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the person is burning the candle at both ends and
right.
is burned out within weeks or months or years.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think I see it as we have two different groups of people that kind of start to form, and they're kind of extreme opposite end of the spectrum, if you like. So on one hand, you have people that we've encountered who feel guilty if they're not constantly doing something for animals.
Yeah.
If they're not constantly at an action or advocating in some way, or it's like 24/7, any free time they've got, they have to be doing something about veganism.
And that would be okay if we were robots.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we were like Energizer bunnies and we just, but we're not.
No.
We're human beings and we are going through the human experience, and what does Claire say? She says, we're vegans, we're just all regular people. We all have the highs, the lows, the woes, the financial stress, the relationship pressures and dramas and family, this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Exactly.
That's life.
Yeah, we all still live life.
So we're not robots. So life is always going to be happening, irrespective.
Yes. Now, at the other end of that spectrum are people who they're vegan, which is great, of course, but they're not active in any way. And so what happens is, I guess, that the load is not shared.
Yeah, so
this is the problem, that there is a group of people that feel they have to burden everything, and they feel guilty taking any time out for themselves. Like, I should go to the movies, for example. Oh, no, well, that's a couple of hours that I could spend doing something for animals. Go and, I don't know, have a bath. Do people still have baths? I don't know. It sounds like a relaxing thing to do.
Yeah. I'm sure people can appreciate the relaxing nature of it, whether or not they've had one or not.
Yes, there you go. So I can't have a bath because I should be doing something for animals. So people that just can't seem to relax and do something aside from vegan.
They're at the most risk of burnout, aren't they?
Well, they always burn out. I mean, it's impossible to sustain that long term.
That's right. I mean, we've observed people online with platforms in the process of burning out, and we've observed the rate at which they've been going, and we've said, it's inevitable because they're not robots. Ultimately, the human body and psyche and what have you is vulnerable and susceptible. It catches up.
Yeah. So I think sharing the load is really important.
That's the solution.
And this is part of what we're doing. We want to normalize vegan activism so much so that it becomes synonymous with going vegan. You go vegan, you get active, same thing.
Yeah.
So that the more vegans we have active, the more the load is shared, the less pressure there is on a small group of individuals.
And the less likely there are people to burn out.
Exactly. The less guilty they feel taking any time off, because you know what? It's all right. I can take today off. Someone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And the next week when they need a day off, I can step back into the ring.
Yeah, like tag team.
Tag team. There you go. We should be tag team. Give me a high five.
Vegan activist tag team.
There you go.
So when we think about self-care, it reminds me very much of when you go onto the aeroplane and they're going through the safety drill and they say, in the event of a drop in cabin pressure, oxygen masks will fall from the ceiling. Place your mask on first before assisting others. So this is so true. If we don't take care of ourselves as vegans and as activists, we are not going to be any good to the victims, the animals whom we're trying to liberate and defend the lives of. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have to put ourselves first.
Yeah.
And then that's going to help us, reach out to other people and influence them in a positive way and create more change.
That's right. I mean, it's different. Like if you could, let's take that on-board analogy. If there was a sudden drop in cabin pressure and it was only going to last for 5 seconds, you could hold your breath and put the mask on the person beside you or the miner or whoever. Having said that, animal liberation is going to take more than 5 seconds, so we can't hold our breath for that whole time.
That's a great analogy, absolutely. The other thing to remember is, as we often say, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's what I was getting at, isn't it?
Yeah. So we have to pace ourselves. If you go at sprint pace for a marathon, you're not going to get very far.
No, I mean, we wish it was only a sprint. Of course, don't get us wrong. Geez, but we're realistic at the same time.
Yeah.
All social justice movements have always taken quite some time. We're talking years, we're talking decades.
Yeah.
So, we want to, move this thing along as fast as we possibly can, but it has to be at a sustainable pace as well.
That's right.
For each of the participants.
All right. So one of the things we did in preparing for this episode was I mentioned it on Instagram and asked people just to send us, what they're struggling with or their thoughts or their comments, anything. And I thought we could just respond to them.
Absolutely. So the first comment was, I struggle with being happy on a daily basis. I can't get the horrors of the animals out of my head.
I can so relate to this. I think especially as new vegans, when you're exposed to it.
It sounds like it might be a newer vegan, and not necessarily. Some people struggle with this for years, but
those images can be imprinted in your mind. Yeah. It's very important to try and live a normal life as much as possible. It really, really is. We still live on planet Earth. We are still humans. As you said at the beginning of this episode, we still have to maintain some sort of normality. And this reminds me of something that we experienced. We were renting an apartment with a few other people, a few other actors.